Hey, friends, welcome to another episode of the show. This one's going to be a good one. You're going to want to roll your sleeves up, folks. Today's guest runs a marketing department. We've never had a CMO on the show before. So, Linz, you're the first one. I don't know. Community college district in the United States. I'm going to just say the largest one. 10 colleges, 140,000 students in the Phoenix metro, which arguably is the fastest growing city on the planet right now. She wasn't handed the seat. She was brought in as an interim, kind of audition for the job, if you will, in real time, right? With real problems, and everybody's kind of watching. And then she rebuilt a system that, to that size and to that brand and that message, enrollment strategy, really from the ground up. Very, very impressive. And that's why we brought her onto this show today. Lindsey Wilson, Chief Marketing Communications Officer from MCCCCCCCD, Maricopa. Lindsey, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's awesome to be the first CMO on the show, and honored to be here and chat with you and catch up.
It is a catch up. I want to start exactly there. You were brought in as an interim, and I was just delighted, and just to kind of be like kind of in uh, doing some work with you during that season. So, a very proud friend on this side. You were not handed the job, right? Every decision you made was being evaluated. Walk me through, what was that first 30 days like for you?
Yeah, just to start, anytime a leader is in an interim role, it is uncomfortable because you feel like the whole world is watching you, and every decision you make is going to get scrutinized. And so you're nervous. You're nervous about what the future holds, if it's going to work, and if they're going to tell you, hey, you know what, we don't think this is the right fit, and let's move on. And so there's a lot of pressure on me, I think, to come in and make some really big changes and get the organization kind of moving this certain direction. And but I didn't actually make all that many big decisions when I first showed up, because I realized really quickly that it was so much bigger than even I had anticipated before I got in the seat, that I needed to just do a reality check with
Yeah.
my team. And so we started at the base level of asking ourselves, who are we, and walking through dissecting the brand and the organization from the inside out, with folks who are experts in this space, but also just to reground ourselves in what we needed to do to actually accomplish what we were about to embark on.
Yeah, and you did not walk in during a trajectory where there was a lot of forward-leaning growth. You had to take a look at some enormous challenges in front of you, and I think that meets our current context today. Community colleges nationwide, somewhere like 30% of their enrollment in 2-year window has just vanished. And oftentimes it's beyond our control. The sector is running, it's a demographic cliff right now that we all need to stay aware of, right? Fewer 18-year-olds, there's just fewer of them out there. Much more competition, AI reshaping how learning is happening across the board. And there's Maricopa competing across 10 campuses and serving wildly different student populations in one of the fastest growing metros in the country. So I've got to ask, I mean, spill the beans here. There's got to be, walk me through what's actually happening in the market from where you sit, and what changes in the last 2 or 3 years since you've been sitting in that seat. Um, are you making that maybe some other CMOs are just missing right now?
Yeah, it's a great question, and we certainly had a lot of downward pressure, right? Both from the pandemic and from even before. Maricopa had a lot of years of negative enrollment growth, and we've currently been on a 13 semester run of positive enrollment growth, record breaking growth this last year. We're super proud of that. I know it's not just the decisions we make in our department. It's much bigger than that.
Yeah.
But the thing that we really lean into is, where are we best served to impact, getting the message of opportunity out to our students. And I think we need to stop measuring ourselves against one another. I've really challenged our team. Like, we don't need to worry about what the big university on the block
Mm,
is doing. We're going to be the best for us, and we are a specific choice. We are a different choice, and sometimes that different choice is a better choice. And we really leaned into this narrative of we believe that we provide a better way to do college, and we're not afraid to tell people transparent truth about what that means, right? Because if you really believe that you're providing something that's grounded in opportunity, what are you doing to actually make it real? Um, a lot of people have great programs, a lot of people have great campuses, but do you have the experience and what comes after the education to really land? And we believe we do, and we believe it to, to our cores. And if you can't get your team to believe in that mission to their core, like everything feels inauthentic and fake and sort of, just surface level. Like if you want to get to the deepest meaning, you have to believe in the meaning as
Mm.
an entire team.
That's the heart of the issue, isn't it? I mean, when you think about when you look at how most community colleges are responding to that environment that we are all swimming in right now, what do you see them doing that just is not working?
Well, I think the tried and true methods of 10 years ago and marketing strategy are out the window.
Your strategic enrollment funnel probably needs to look a little bit differently than it did 10 years ago.
100%. And enrollment funnels, we often think of this giant top of the funnel that, we do this awareness work and all these students just pile into that part of the funnel. And then we hopefully will get them through the process it's in some way. But it really is more fragmented today, right? Like the front door is anywhere that a student might be.
Right.
And we have to think differently about how we're marketing to them, both in just our strategy and our tactics, but also in where we're finding them, right? We're the largest provider of dual enrollment in Arizona. It'd be really easy for me as a CMO just to say, well, just give me the number of however many dual enrollment students, and we're going to market to them and get them to come here. And we do that. But we also send a lot of materials. We developed this thing called an opportunity box. We send it to every single high school and middle school, 6th through 8th grade in Arizona, that literally for the counselors that are at that school who are helping educate the next generation of college going students of all of the opportunities that Maricopa community has, from the bachelor's degree program to the non-traditional pathways that we offer, whether that's construction or a trade or CTE programs, all of those things. And, and we do it in a way that's very Maricopa, right? Like we literally put discover a better way to do college on the front of the box. It's a very beautiful thing. And we want to shock people with that. Like we want to just put it in your face, make sure that it's real so that you can share that with those students. And that's one example of many where we thought, how do we get in front of these audiences in a different way that maybe is not just your traditional, let's pay for an ad and hope it works.
So have you been shocked by when the box returns to you and you pull out the little thing? And I'm just like imagining every district has a box and they send it to you everyone. Well, what have you discovered? What are some artifacts that just made you go, oh, that's interesting?
I've heard from a lot of folks that have received it. We did talk to a number of counselors who received the box just to get like, hey, what's your opinion on this? Was this a dumb idea or did you like it? Like, was this a good idea? And, it's been overwhelmingly positive, but the things that really stood out was sometimes being told, hey, we didn't even know you had 10 colleges.
Mm.
Right? Like you take some of the most simple things for granted when you do the work day in and day out. And you have to remember, like, this isn't someone else's life. They're not living and breathing this like you. So you have to start there. You can't start where you are. You have to start there. And so, folks who didn't understand some of the scholarships we offered and those types of things as well. And it's just, it's really shocked me that like sometimes we just take for granted the most basic elements of what we do, and we can't do that.
Mm. So I know you. You are a system thinker. You're very analytical. Data means something. I think the higher ed marketing, right, is it's historically kind of a feeling department. You walk into a function where maybe KPI is usually just does the brochure here. Does it feel inspiring? And how does the web page, what kind of a vibe do you get? How has your unique and beautiful wiring shaped the way that you approach maybe a campaign that most CMOs in your seat wouldn't?
So we believe in data, and we believe in looking at all of the data that we have available to us, and we have great data available to us on our students. But I also believe in looking outside of our own numbers.
Mm.
It's not just about what our numbers show us; it's about what is the marketplace showing us. What are the studies that are coming out? I have a master's degree in psychology. I've always been fascinated by human behavior. Why do people make the decisions they do, whether it's from a marketing lens or just any lens? And so we do a ton of external research before we launch a campaign. And then we also test that against focus groups all the time. We bring
Mm.
together students, and we're not afraid to hear bad feedback. We want bad feedback. We actually sometimes crave bad feedback because we know if we get it, we can make it better and we can fix the problem. So I would say, we've set up a way of validating what we do in a real time capacity. We have dashboards that show us all the beautiful KPIs you could imagine, leads, applications, social mentions, brand lift, right, from the search standpoint. But it's really talking about the qualitative side of things when you get to why did a student really make the decision? Why were they interested in what is the motivation behind the decision? And that's what drives our deepest conversations from a brand level. We we don't want to market to just surface level. We want to get deeper to the behavior and the motivation of some of the individuals that are making these decisions.
Well, otherwise you're going to have blind spots because in all reality, you've got a system serving workforce reentrants, you've got first gen students, you've got dual enrollment high schoolers and immigrant populations, all of them simultaneously. So that's diversity in marketing and having a good way, a system and the architecture that continually gives you good data around all of that. So, what has that diversity of audience required you to understand more about your blind spots? Go a little bit deeper into that.
Yeah, I'm not an expert in every audience, right? I'm not going to be able to write a very effective ad for a high school student because I'm not a high school student. And so being able to talk with high school students, being able to, uh, do focus groups with high school students, and understanding like I'm not an expert in who you are.
Hmm.
And that's okay. Like I can use my knowledge and then what you inform me about yourself to really maximize the efforts for those audiences, the best ways to reach them, the things that motivate them, the things that they respond to, and the things that really at the end of the day open opportunity for them. Because if they decide that Maricopa Community Colleges isn't the right fit for a number of reasons, that's okay. That's
That's
okay.
actually a really good thing. If you can actually refer, I've learned that from other companies. The best ones are referring, saying, not here, but you might want to check out over there, which means you know who you are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And if it's the right decision for them, then, and we did everything we could to find them where they were and give them the right information at the right time to make that decision, then we've done our job. That was what our job is.
Here's my honest read on higher ed marketing, and I would say even K-12 marketing, because we're playing much the same game. Most institutions are spending limited budget, right, on to produce an output that functionally is indistinguishable from their five closest competitors. There's just swimming in the sea of sameness, right? And everybody's looking for the cutest tagline of whatever it happens to be, but and maybe even the same stock photography, same tagline architecture, the same language that nobody really is believing in anymore. What does that evidence actually show at Maricopa? Not philosophy, but what has moved for you, where you just said that's not us. We're not using some of the standard, easy to grab and just go. Where is there a depth now in your work that might be a bit superficial in your competitors' work?
Yeah, I think, part of where when you do have limited budgets, and everybody has limited budgets, right? Every marketer you talk to is going to tell you, I'm underfunded. I need more money to spend on whatever the next campaign or ads are. And so certainly I appreciate anyone sitting in a chair thinking, I don't have the resources to pull this off. But if you have limited resources and you are going to actually make a difference with those resources, you have to be consistent in your approach and consistent in your vision. And the minute you fragment off of that, even just for a split second, you've watered down all of those resources that are already limited to begin with. And so for us, it wasn't just about what's our tagline going to be, and we're going to be consistent with that tagline. It was what are the taglines and what do the messages mean?
That's
How do
right.
they actually mean, what do they mean to a student that's looking at us? What do they mean to the community as a whole when they think, why does Maricopa Community Colleges matter? I'm a big believer, like if you ask, why does that matter, like 3 times, you finally get to like the core of the issue, right? If a student chooses to go to school for nursing, why does that matter? Well, because they're going to get a better job as a career as a nurse. But why does that matter? Well, because
Mm,
someone else's relative is going to walk into an emergency room and have somebody there that's trained and that can actually help them. Well, that is actually a way better selling point and a way better marketing strategy, is to sell that part of what you're doing to the broader community and also to the individual student than just focusing on, we have a great program and we hope that you'll check it out, right? Like that
it doesn't work anymore.
doesn't work.
There was a day when it did work, but every college is now looking across the curb saying, how do we best engage? Give me maybe be a little vulnerable here, and if you say there are none, I trust you because you're a good character. But what have you attempted that just abjectly failed? Like, we were, we thought this was gonna be do re mi for us, and nope, we fell on our faces.
So, I would be lying if I said every decision I made always worked perfectly and never had any issues. I've made many mistakes. Every career stop I've had, I've made many mistakes. In this role, I'll use one specific one. We had a 30-second commercial that just won a national award from NCMPR, which is our organization for 2-year institutions, and it's a great acknowledgement of the achievement. But the process to get there with that ad was so messy. And in fact, sometimes when you're a perfectionist and you think that you're not meeting the mark of what you set out to do, you can almost get inside your own head to a degree that can stop progress. And so I've been very fortunate in my career to surround myself with people who are smarter than me, or who are willing to tell me the truth, right? Whether it's good or bad, I want to know the truth. And in this case, I had 2 of my colleagues that came to me and said, you are overthinking this.
Mm.
You are really sort of spiraling on this one. And I was ready to pull the plug on the whole thing and just say, shelve it. It's not good enough. It's not ready. We can't use this. And it was 2 of my colleagues who said, you're wrong. It's good. It's ready. And that literal national award winning commercial almost never made it, because if it was my decision, it probably wouldn't have made it because I would have gotten in my own head. So surrounding yourselves with colleagues, coworkers, mentors who are willing to be honest with you, both for good or for bad. Like,
Mhm.
you're being crazy. You need to snap out of it, or hey, we don't think this is the right direction. Could we pause? Could we talk about that? And if you've built a culture where everyone's agreeing with you, like, that's not it. You need people who are willing to disagree with you and challenge you.
That's I think one of the greatest elements of a higher performing team is when you can manage up and have some of your people say, no, boss, this is not good, or it's not going to work. And having above average social sensitivity to understand when that's actually appropriate. So we're going to bring this into a land here, but I've got to ask you. So you're running a market, largest community college system in the country. You've built something here. You really have. My guess is you've. It's not like it's a copy machine where you just, okay, we're just going to keep pushing the green button because it works every time. You constantly learn. But is this a national model that you're building? The blueprint, maybe for other CMOs, or is Maricopa's situation just way too nuanced or specific to export?
No, I think it could be exported to anyone who feels like this model is effective for their situation. The infrastructure, we really did focus on what is the infrastructure we're building. This should be a system, from the way we cover each other as colleagues, but also to the way we use data, to the way we check ourselves, to the way we study things before we put them out. And so it is truly a system as we look at that. And it certainly could be applied at other colleges or universities. I'm never afraid to share that information with anyone. If anyone asks, hey, what are you doing that's working? I'll tell them. What are you doing that's not working? I'll tell them. We have community colleges here in Arizona who have legitimately just taken our work and used it in their market. And I'm okay with that. I'm not going to say, I think that if we're helping students,
Right, right, right.
that's that's great.
It's
And
the
I always,
wrong sector to have a scarcity mindset, especially if you're in the public sector. If you're if you're .com, okay, there's going to be a line, but you're not .com. You're,
yeah,
I don't know, .edu. I don't know. You're one of those. Anyways, okay, we're going to get, not that that wasn't fun. Okay, but we're going to move this into a lightning round. Okay, just real quick fire. Need to make sure that people don't think that that you are actually human. The work that you're doing is quite superhuman. But how about a quote that you live by, Lindsey?
best quote I could think of is you need to focus on the big things while you're doing the small things so that all of those small things go in the right direction.
Morning person or night owl?
Definitely a night owl.
In-N-Out burger or something else?
Anything that is Mexican food is my preference.
Okay, okay. How about a decision that you've made in this role that you'd make 10 times over?
Taking the extra second to pause and really set that foundational understanding before you just move into big decisions.
All right, I'm going for it. A guilty pleasure that you're slightly embarrassed about.
Binge watching any sort of terrible streaming show that's out, reality show or old sitcoms or any of that.
Do you have a favorite?
I'm rewatching The Office right now for probably the 18th time in my life. So,
Best B-roll out there ever. Yes. How about a brand, and it can't be higher ed, that you think is just doing it right now?
I've always looked at Apple as a company that really has embedded marketing culture into just everything they do, from the way they, just the beautiful designs, of
Mm.
course, is incredible, but just the way they talk about their products and make them meaningful to the individual, is I think second to none, and I think they've got the results to prove it.
So you can pass on this question if you want to, but first thing that a CMO should cut from their marketing budget.
It, I'm hoping it won't get me in trouble, but I think if you're paying a marketing agency to do your work and not building your organization from the inside, you're making a mistake. Doesn't mean agencies can't be helpful, and
Yes.
certainly there's times and places for that. But if you've got a huge line item in your budget and it's being occupied by an agency, you didn't build your organization from the inside.
That is what we call codependency.
That is.
Yes. If you weren't doing this, what would you be doing?
I'd be building a brand somewhere for some organization that I believed in.
A word or a phrase. Where is Maricopa headed?
Opportunity.
Hmm. Best piece of career advice you've ever received?
Focus on why it matters. If you can ask yourself why does this matter, and you can figure that out, you're gonna make something that's meaningful at the end of the day.
Last question. 25-year-old Lindsey, what is she thinking of you today?
Relieved that I finally figured out what I'm doing with my life, and doing something that's impactful. Proud as well.
Mm. Mm. Lindsey, anything else for somebody, another CMO or somebody that is like aspiring to be in that role, maybe 3 layers down in the organization, to just help them get out of their heads a little bit, a piece of advice, some wisdom, any last encouragement to somebody listening in today?
You definitely have to have some thick skin to be a CMO. Everyone's a marketer and everyone's an expert in marketing, so you get a lot of unsolicited advice. But never be afraid to give an idea away or take an idea from somewhere else. If somebody takes credit for an idea that originated in our department, it's all good. That's totally fine. It means we're all going there together anyways. And I believe that we're innovative enough to come up with 100 more great ideas. So don't ever let the sort of concept of, well, I accomplished this, or I did this, I had this idea, or this idea came from a non-traditional space that maybe you didn't expect. Take it,
Mm,
take any good idea that comes and run with it and give it away when it's time to give it away.
gold, folks, and many nuggets of gold. Lindsey, you're one of the most secure leaders that I've ever met, and just your innovative mind is more brilliant than I have words for. But here's the lesson, I think, for everybody in marketing: the committee consensus. That idea that a brand is built by 10 separate options, maybe all 10 different colleges have a equal weight. It competes against that singular voice that we all just want to surround our work around, in a way that can kind of be the villain out there today. And it's one of the things that Lindsey has spent just this last 23 minutes dismantling. So if you're a community college president, maybe a provost or a chancellor, marketing director watching this today, the question isn't whether you can afford to invest in a real marketing strategy. The question is, you just can't afford to keep producing content that everybody approves of and no one really is responding to. So if they want to learn more about Maricopa and the system, or Lindsey, yourself personally, where might they find y'all?
Well, we have a obviously public website, maricopa.edu. We also have a marketing site, marketing.maricopa.edu, where we have some things that are open to the public for them to see. You won't get to see all the amazing dashboards and things that we have set up, but I'm on LinkedIn. If anyone ever has questions, connect with me. I'm happy to share, happy to, grab a 5 or 10 minute phone call and just chat. I've done it many times and I've learned things from those conversations, and I've reached out to folks who I think are doing it well and had those conversations myself.
Lindsey, thank you. Duke's up for you.
Yeah, thank you. Have a wonderful day.
That's the show, folks. Peace. Stay gold.